ABC News World Headquarters in New York. This is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and we begin tonight with the news coming in. The CDC investigating a deadly E. coli outbreak involving McDonald's. The outbreak linked to Quarter Pounders. The warning from the CDC just in, one ingredient they're now looking into, the sliced onions used for those Quarter Pounders, but they have not said for sure that that was the culprit here. At least 49 people sickened in 10 states. At least 10 people have been hospitalized. One person has died. But the CDC says the outbreak may go beyond these states. McDonald's said in a statement late today the initial investigation linked to a single supplier that serves 3 distribution centers. For now, the company is pulling used fresh sliced onions, and they're pulling Quarter Pounders in the affected states. ABC's Ariel Reshef leading us off.
Tonight, the CDC is warning of a deadly E. coli outbreak linked to the McDonald's Quarter Pounder. At least 49 people in 10 states have gotten sick between September 27th and October 11th. 10 had to be hospitalized, including a child with severe kidney complications. Colorado reporting the most cases with 27 and 1 death, reportedly an older person. E. coli is a bacteria that can cause serious illness, including fever, stomach cramps, and, in severe cases, can be deadly. All of the people who got sick reported eating at McDonald's beforehand. Most reporting they ate a Quarter Pounder hamburger. McDonald's removing the sandwich from the menu in affected areas, saying in a statement a subset of illnesses may be linked to slivered onions used in the Quarter Pounder and sourced by a single supplier that serves 3 distribution centers.
It's important to note that the majority of states and the majority of menu items are not affected. This is a temporary change as the investigation continues, and we are working quickly to return our full menu in these states as soon as possible.
And David, McDonald's shares dropped 9% in after-hours trading after the CDC's announcement. The CDC, the FDA, and state health officials are all investigating. David?
Ariel Reshef leading us off here tonight. Ariel, thank you. We turn now to the race for the White House election night 2 weeks from tonight. 19 million Americans have now cast their votes early. Vice President Kamala Harris moments ago, when asked about Donald Trump and whether she's prepared if Trump declares victory before all of the votes are counted on election night, after what he said on election night back in 2020. What Harris just said about this, and Donald Trump tonight returning to North Carolina, a major focus for his campaign. Rachel Scott from North Carolina tonight.
Tonight, 19 million Americans voting already, and a good chance we won't know the winner on election night. In a new interview, Vice President Kamala Harris asked what she will do if Donald Trump once again declares victory before all the votes are counted.
We got 2 weeks to go, and I'm very much grounded in the present in terms of the task at hand, and we will deal with election night and the days after as they come, and we have the resources and the expertise and the focus on that as well.
So you have teams ready to go? Is that what you're saying? Are you thinking about that as a possibility?
Of course. This is a person, Donald Trump, who tried to undo a free and fair election, who still denies the will of the people, who incited a violent mob to attack the United States Capitol, and 140 law enforcement officers were attacked. Some were killed. This is a serious matter. The American people are, at this point, 2 weeks out, being presented with a very, very serious decision about what will be the future of our country.
Tonight, Harris's top supporters fanning out across the battlegrounds. Her running mate Tim Walz campaigning in Wisconsin with former President Barack Obama.
Here in Wisconsin, early voting starts today.
Walz attacking Trump's recent photo op at McDonald's, where he worked the drive-through window and fry station, but refused to answer whether he would raise the minimum wage, which stands at $7.25. And for a 40-hour work week, that means $15,000 a year.
Well, I think these people work hard. They're great. And I just saw something, a process that's beautiful.
Walz not holding back.
There's something not just nuts, but cruel about a billionaire using people's livelihood as a political prop. His agenda lets big corporations not pay people for overtime and diminishes those very workers that he was cosplaying as.
Obama challenging Trump's mental fitness, citing several moments, including a recent event where Trump spent 39 minutes swaying to music.
There are questions about his competence. You'd be worried if Grandpa was acting like this. Right? You call up your brother, you call up your cousins, you say, have you noticed?
But here in North Carolina, where Trump has spent the last several days, voters like Roger Mills tell me they're not bothered.
He talks without thinking sometimes, but I like his policies. His policies, I believe, are good for America. So.
Roger tells me he's voting for Trump for one simple reason.
You don't feel like you're better off now than where you were 4 years ago?
Oh, absolutely not. No.
More than 1 million voters here have already lined up to vote early. Angela Larry was one of them.
Oh, God, I just want to get it over with. I'm ready for it to just be over.
Angela, who has a daughter, says she's voting for Kamala Harris. The issue of abortion top of mind.
I don't like that someone who doesn't have a clue, can't walk the walk, has something to say about what a woman goes through.
Trump here in North Carolina for a second day, trying to hang on to a state he won twice before. Earlier, he held a roundtable with Latino supporters at one of his Florida golf clubs, hoping to make further inroads with that key group of voters.
And I'm going 14 more days, and we're going to have a big victory party, hopefully, and we're going to turn our country around. We're going to make it great again. And
Donald Trump has a rally here in North Carolina tonight. Both of these candidates barnstorming the battleground states in the final days. Vice President Kamala Harris will be out in Georgia with Bruce Springsteen, and Donald Trump will be sitting down with popular podcast host Joe Rogan, hoping to win over young male voters. David.
2 weeks from tonight, Rachel Scott live in North Carolina tonight. Rachel, thank you. Now to the ABC News exclusive tonight. Sources telling ABC News the judge who threw out Donald Trump's classified documents case is now on a list of potential candidates to be Attorney General if Trump wins. Here's our chief Washington correspondent, Jonathan Karl.
Tonight, sources tell ABC News the federal judge who dismissed the criminal case against Donald Trump for allegedly mishandling classified documents is now under consideration for the role of Attorney General if Trump wins back the White House. The sources tell us that Judge Aileen Cannon is now on a list of several possible candidates for the job. It's a list circulating within the Trump campaign and transition operation. Her name appears on a document reviewed by ABC News titled Transition Planning Legal Principles, which lists potential candidates for White House counsel's office, the Justice Department, and the FBI if Trump wins. Sources tell us the document was drafted by top Trump advisors, including Boris Epstein, who oversees Trump's legal team and is one of his closest aides. Trump nominated Judge Cannon to the federal bench in 2020, lavishing her with praise when she was assigned to preside over the classified documents case, which was brought by special counsel Jack Smith.
I'm very proud to have appointed her, but she's very smart and very strong and loves our country. Loves our country. We need judges that love our country, so they do the right thing.
The documents case was seen as the most dire legal threat to Trump after the FBI seized boxes of highly classified documents at Mar-a-Lago, including some stored in an ornate bathroom and others on the stage in the club's ballroom. But for months, Judge Cannon handed prosecutors one defeat after another, ultimately throwing the case out entirely, declaring Smith's appointment as special counsel unconstitutional. But Trump praised her as brilliant.
I think she's a brilliant woman. I think she handled a scam. It's a scam case.
The Trump campaign had no immediate comment to our reporting about Judge Cannon, but I spoke to Donald Trump late yesterday, and he said that he wasn't ready to talk about the work of his transition team or any of the appointments he might make if he gets back to the White House, telling me, quote, "I don't like to talk about transition until I win." David?
John Karl, live in Washington. Thank you, John. Now to the disturbing allegations tonight against the former CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch, along with 2 other suspects, arrested tonight on federal charges of sex trafficking and prostitution. Prosecutors say they lured young men with the promise of modeling jobs. Here's our senior investigative correspondent, Aaron Katersky.
Tonight, the former chief executive of one of the world's most recognizable clothing retailers is under arrest, accused of operating an international sex trafficking and prostitution business that preyed on aspiring models.
Powerful individuals for too long have trafficked and abused for their own sexual pleasure young people with few resources in a dream.
Abercrombie & Fitch, famous for the bare-chested young men standing at the front of their stores. Michael Jeffries allegedly used his wealth and power as CEO to fulfill his sexual desires by luring men to what prosecutors call sex events with the promise of modeling opportunities that did not exist. 15 men have come forward who said they were made to sign non-disclosure agreements, wear costumes, and then forced to perform explicit sex acts for money. But prosecutors say the men were never told the nature of the sexual activity that would be required. The indictment charged Jeffries, who is now 80, his romantic partner Matthew Smith, and a recruiter, James Jacobson, with what prosecutors called abhorrent behavior.
The defendants pressured the men to consume alcohol, Viagra, and muscle relaxants known as poppers during the sex events.
The allegations mirror civil lawsuits by several alleged victims.
They left believing they had serious financial, reputational, and potentially physical risk of ever saying anything, which is why it's taken so long for this to come out.
Former model Barrett Paul says in 2011 he was flown from L.A. to a party at Jeffries' estate in the Hamptons.
I was told that there could be some things that were not your normal interview. However, this is your chance.
The criminal charges are based on 15 alleged victims, but David, the FBI believes there may be dozens more and asks them to come forward. If they do, prosecutors say there could be even more criminal charges. David?
Eric Katursky here in New York. Thank you. Next tonight, the Pentagon confirming 2 U.S. Silver Service members were injured in a raid in Iraq that was targeting an ISIS leader. The nighttime raid was conducted jointly with Iraqi forces. Iraq's prime minister tonight saying the head of ISIS in Iraq was killed, along with 8 other ISIS leaders. The U.S. service members are said to be in stable condition tonight. Now to the war in the Middle East. Tonight, a judge ordering former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani to turn over most of his property now to the 2 Georgia poll workers he defamed. Giuliani has just 7 days to forfeit his Manhattan penthouse, cash, jewelry, 24 luxury watches, and Yankees memorabilia. Ruby Freeman and her daughter Shay Moss won a $148 million judgment after Giuliani repeatedly made false claims about them while they were simply doing their jobs. When we come to the index of other news, record heat with Halloween a little more than a week away now. Temperatures from Arizona to Texas all the way up to New York, 70s, 80s, and 90s this week. Most of the country warmer than normal next week, including Halloween a week from this Thursday. Flying taxis are coming to major cities across the U.S. The FAA tonight approving the final framework to certify electric helicopters. Trained pilots begin operations. In New York City, they're expected to fly from airports to downtown Manhattan in the beginning, set to start within 2 years. Tonight, former Baywatch star Michael Newman has died after a long battle with Parkinson's. He was the only actor on the show who was a lifeguard in real life, also a full-time firefighter. Michael Newman was 68.